Yes. Hey, here we are again, college football trash talk. Oh my God, what is this? Week 12 we're in right now?
Week 12.
And then this is week 9 of college football. We've been shooting these. This is our 12th show, I think, and we're so happy to be here and bringing this to you. Greg, my main man, how are you, brother? My co-host with the most.
Yes, sir. Glad to be back in action with you, talking about this past week 9 football, and also going into week 10. You know, the stakes are even getting higher and higher. We had some great games, I thought, that really helped the top 10, obviously. It changes it out. I mean, a lot of teams dropping out of the top 10 and moving up, surprising some of those teams for sure. And the Heisman contending is a big topic of conversation. I mean, they are the top 2, in my opinion, are really making statements to battle.
Absolutely.
Maybe even top 3, I should say, with Cam Ward in the picture. But I mean, there's other players out there this week who played like they were in the Heisman hunt. So, I mean, I'm just excited that our guys pulled through, and came out with a W. We both had some very close games.
Well,
to say the least.
You know what I call this week?
What?
Squeaker. It was called the Squeaker week, where a couple teams barely squeaked by, and but you know what? Those are the games that are important within a season. You have to be able to win games when you look ugly, and find a way to win.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that game as we go, but we know what we're talking about. Ohio State,
indeed.
That Squeaker.
Yeah, very competitive Squeakers.
Yeah, so let's as we always do, let's look at the top 10 real quick. Let's go through the top 5, and there's listen, and you and I both are big on the U, and we think they should be. So it goes Oregon, Georgia, fine, Penn State, and then Ohio State. The U has jumped Texas at 5, and Texas at number 6. So I believe that the U should be up at number 3, but I'll tell you why they're not. You and I spoke about this last week. Listen, if you have to score 39 points to win a game every week, then your defense is not very good. So what that means is they're going to look at the whole program, and that's why I can't believe maybe Ohio State should be at number 5 and Miami should be at number 4. But again, I'm talking about their defense. Listen, they squeaked by California. They had to score 39. So each week, they're having to score a lot of points to win the game. But anyway, so what is your feeling about the top 10? Is there anything that jumps out at you? Tennessee, Notre Dame, BYU, Texas A&M is this scary team right now.
Yeah, they're building that coach, Mike Elko. Kelko. He's definitely he's turned that team around since that upset with Notre Dame at College Station. I just think their program, I mean, they haven't lost a game. Their momentum is strong. They beat a dominant LSU team at Kyle Field. And I mean, like, going into Kyle Field is like going into Death Valley. It's the shoe, it's a very, stakes are so high. Excuse me. But A&M looking good. They're really coming together. The quarterback play is great. I know they
hold on a second. We're going to get into that game, but the one thing I do have to tell you is there was a quarterback change.
Yeah.
And that guy came in and scored 3 touchdowns. He changed the game. We're going to get into that.
Yeah, for sure. But
let me ask you a question.
They both jumped up. I mean, from the bottom tier into the top tier. Now they're 10. I mean, looking at 10 and number 8 with Notre Dame.
Let's go through 11 through 15, and there's some shockers here. Now, we always say that it's not about where you start. It's about where you finish. It's about when you get hot.
Yep.
Clemson is hotter than fish grease right now. Iowa State is 7-0, and they're ranked 11th.
11. And
Indiana is ranked 8-0, and they're ranked 13th.
Yeah.
So Alabama, of course, 6-2, they're up 14. And then Boise State, playoff-bound Boise State, I believe, is 15. Any shockers there for you?
I mean, not shockers. Ole Miss, dropping down quite a bit, with their their game this past weekend.
They're just not as good as we thought.
SMU jumping up. I mean, they got a big game coming up this week against Pittsburgh, so that's going to change the stakes because Pittsburgh's undefeated. They're traveling to Dallas to make that matchup. So that's going to be fun to watch for sure. I may actually go to that game. Wow. Navy dropping out. I'm sad to see that,
Yeah, look, they played horrible. They had so many turnovers. They just got blitzed.
I think, it's looking pretty good. Like you mentioned, Iowa State, they're undefeated. I don't know their strength of schedule comparison to the other top 10 is kind of the reason why they may have been sliding down a bit. BYU still strong. I don't know if I think they played big games. I don't know their strength of schedule, obviously. And there's been some idle weeks, so teams are staying relevant. Miami jumping up to top number 5 is pretty good. And then, so I just don't know if because of their schedule, how strong it's been, who's the big wins they've had. I mean, they haven't played a Bama. They haven't played the Georgia. Getting squeakers against like Virginia Tech, they beat Louisville, who's got a good deal.
Well, if that's the case, then Ohio State should be ranked 20th because we had cream puffs. And then we got beat by 1 point at Oregon. We squeaked out a game at Nebraska.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then they've ranked us. You know what, though? The true test is going to come this week. We're going to see who the men are and who the boys are. So we'll get into that. But so anyway, the one team that we haven't mentioned on the show at all is Washington State that creeped into number 22. They're 7-1. I have not paid attention to them because they've just been out of the realm, but now they've moved up. They're 7-1.
Yeah.
The one team that I think was a big disappointment for a lot of people was Utah. Utah, unfortunately, Cam Rising is I think that I don't know if did he redshirt? I think he redshirted.
Oh, he's done.
So for his 20th season, he's a veteran.
He's been a journeyman for sure.
Yeah, he's got grandkids right now,
his for sure. I mean, unfortunately, they have tumbled right out, and I was very hot on them at the very beginning of the season.
You and I both were like, hey, Utah, as far as a complete football team,
they're strong. They lost their quarterback. That's how valuable that position is. I mean, and then your understudy coming in to lead your team to victory is a lot on the carry, for a young quarterback. So it's sad to see the downfall, but that's our game, man. That is a game of football. So, hey, let's talk about, the games for week 9.
So here we go. Let's go into last week's picks. And Greg, you know what that is?
That's
called the victory bell.
Yeah.
Okay, you have not 1 week you rung the victory bell, and it was week number 1.
Hey, I don't.
And you've never rung the victory bell again, bro. How's that feel? How's that feel?
No, it doesn't matter. I'm taking risk. No risk, no reward.
Oh my God. Okay. That's what you call it. Let's go to the board, shall we? Okay. So we got week 9, James 3, Greg 2. The score is 25-14. 25-14.
That lady ain't singing it. No offense to anybody, but it's just kind of like saying the bell. Nobody's warming up. Nobody's grabbing keys to the bus. Quitting the road to the championship. So,
Greg. Okay, listen, bro. The reason why the bell stays here is for one reason, because I ring the bell every week. I'm the victory bell ringer, not you.
For all you out there who just got some Team Greg support, you send me comments and questions about what I need to counteract.
Because he needs help.
Because I need a cowbell. Because he's got that ring-a-ding-ding thing going on over there that's just really driving me nuts. And I'm sure it's all having an impact on our hearing because he's been ringing it every week. But hey, I go with I'm rooting for. I did second guess myself about the Pittsburgh because I got good friends in Pittsburgh, but they had a good matchup, So here we go, James. Tell us.
Right, let's get into it, guys. So this is week 9 college football. It was a great week. I gave it a name. There was Separation Saturday. This week I called it Squeaker, the Squeaker Saturday, where there were some teams that they barely squeaked one out. So let's get into it. Let's go for Friday's game. You and I went at it on this one. Syracuse traveled to Pittsburgh. Now, now you know my philosophy about playing at home, especially at Pittsburgh. So with that said, Greg, you chose Syracuse and I chose Pittsburgh. And man, let me tell you something. They opened up a can. And so it was 41-13. And let me go over a stat with you real quick. Kyle McCord transferred out of Ohio State. Thank God. Get him out of here. You know what we did? We paid for his ticket. We gave him room and board. We told him, get out of town, bro. This is what he did. 35 of 64. First of all, no quarterback should ever throw 64 times. If you're throwing 64 times,
obviously,
you got issues.
They couldn't run. 5
interceptions, bro.
I know. That's
and I think 3 of them were returned for touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
a lot of throws, too much throwing, not enough run game. You've got to have a running game to win a game, obviously, in the trenches. So, I mean, nothing was gelling in the first half of that game for Syracuse. They looked horrible. Pittsburgh, they didn't really have blazing stats, but they had ball control and turnovers.
Pittsburgh, the quarterback, 11 to 15, 108 yards, bro.
Dude, they had a team total of 144 yards with 2 throwing touchdowns. So
they had 41 points. So 21 points of that was from pick sixes.
Yeah, turnovers. Turnovers win games. I don't care. You're in the trench, man. You're in the mud. Turnovers win games. But they dominated Pittsburgh from top to bottom, across the board from the kickoff.
No, you mean they dominated Syracuse?
No, they just dominated that entire game.
Yeah.
There's no ins there.
I mean, it was as soon as I turned it on, I had a smile on my face. I was like, woohoo! This is our first one out of the box, and I got one on the board.
5 interceptions for Pittsburgh and 3 pick sixes.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They just deflated them right out. So
the one thing we got to remember is we're, midway through the season. And this is where, look, at the beginning of the year, you may, new quarterback going into a new system. Maybe you could have 5 picks. 5 picks in week 9? Come on, Greg.
Pittsburgh's defense, they played. They balled out. Their offense, they did it too. But their defense scored a lot more so than the offense. 21 points. That's 50%. 51% is defense on turnovers, which is great. So scratch that one. You win. I lost, but I did like Pittsburgh. So I just want to put that out there as they come to Dallas this week. Hey, moving on. Let's go to Boise State and UNLV. Wow. That was a game. And I did say it was going to be a coin toss because back in the they're at Death Star. They played at the Death Star. That's really great for UNL. Very fortunate for them to get in there. Very competitive game.
So, we're looking at, Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
Again, he rushed for 128 yards. This guy, let's talk about this for a second. You don't even consider him a Heisman candidate?
No, I totally does. He's a homegrown boy right here in my backyard. This kid is delivering. He was a highlight 5-star recruit or 4-star recruit out of the area, and so 4 or 5, but he was a baller then. Flashy. But he has definitely physically changed. He's been in the weight room. He's been there for 2 years. So he redshirted, and now he's a true single back. He's the number 1 guy. But this is a very competitive game. UNLV came out strong, held Boise State. Then they turned it on in the second, the second quarter to end that half to get it close. And then UNLV got that pep talk during halftime, and wow, it was game on. Second half domination.
So, like you said, UNLV scored 14 points in the third quarter. We spoke about UNLV quite a few times this year, saying that, it's a program on the up and, huge upside here. And I just think that I've watched Boise State play this year. And of course, I watched the highlights of every game. But I've seen them play. They're tough. They're a well-rounded team. Not only are they good offensively. Look, the quarterback, I think he threw for 208 yards, 120 yards on the ground. Defensively, they gave up some points, but that's, look, that's college football. It's about, it's receiving the punch and getting back up and giving one. So
yeah, they had heart. They had heart, man. They never quit. It was a well balanced operation. I mean, it was a good competitive game. So hey,
yeah,
both teams.
Boise State. Look, you and I were talking about who's that Power 5 conference is going to get in. I truly believe it's going to be Boise State. We'll see, but they're the ones that are in line for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to this game. Another one of my picks that I won. Notre Dame traveled to Navy and just demolished Navy. Again, you and I spoke about turnovers. Navy had some turnovers, and they looked sloppy, And so, look, Riley Leonard threw for 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Love rushed for 102 yards for Notre Dame. I mean, not like big stats, but again, you and I, listen, we're going back to Syracuse and Pittsburgh. If you turn the ball over, they don't have to have explosive stats.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're going to give me that one? Then, I'm going to take advantage of it. And so 51-14, Navy was undefeated. Their first loss. I think that in all intensive purposes, they've kind of shot themselves. I don't think they're going to be in the running anymore, but they are bowl eligible and they are going to go to a bowl. And so, for what that is as a season for Navy, even if they don't go to the playoffs, I think that they're, I don't know I don't even know what that means anymore. If it's a 12-team playoff, you're going to go to a bowl. You're probably not going to go to a bowl, right?
Yeah. I mean,
or some sort of bowl. Oh, yes, they are, because the 12-team expansion will keep the traditional, like the Sugar Bowl, Peach Bowl, and all that. Yeah. But Navy will go to like the Alamo Bowl or something.
Yeah, Independence Bowl or something. They'll go to something. They will go to a bowl for sure. And again, this game was like the Boise State game, the first game that we spoke about. I mean, Syracuse. This is a turnover game. I mean, Navy, they 5 fumbles. 5, because they're a running team. All right. They run a wishbone. That's what they do. And they turn that ball way too many times. Notre Dame scored a lot of points on turnovers. And I mean, I will go to my resting bed with that one. I'll sleep peacefully. I just don't think Notre Dame has played a domination of a team. I want to see them play Ohio State. I want to see them play Texas. I want to see a competitive LSU, or an SET. A&M, they lost to them. But A&M wasn't together yet. That was right out of the gate in the beginning of the season. So they're not. I like Notre Dame overall for football. I'm just not a Notre Dame kind of guy. So,
well, I tell you this: Notre Dame wouldn't want to play A&M now. I'll tell you that right now.
No,
that'd be a whole different ball game.
It'll be scary, but they're bowl eligible for sure, and they're definitely probably in the top 12 for sure. But they'll lose the first game. They won't be in contention for that one. But you won that one. I wanted to go for the Navy. The guys, I believed in those soldiers there, and I was rooting for them. But you got that one.
Well, I do too. But you know what? What I said was on the show, I said that what happens is just depth-wise in every position, Navy does not have the depth that Notre Dame has in every position. So, what they'll do is Notre Dame will find that little niche, where's our strong point and just try to maximize those situations. So, but again, you can't predict all those turnovers either.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're stepping into some good territory. This is the Kipper world.
Oh yeah, baby.
Because this is the SEC battle. We didn't really believe that banner wagon was going to be in the hunt for a win here, but they did play a good game in the first half, against Ole Miss in Oxford. Jackson Dart, Heisman contender. Jackson Arnold reclaimed his starting position at quarterback. And so he had 300 yards, Jackson Dart. Jackson Arnold, man, he didn't play bad for 22 of 31 attempts, so 2 touchdowns, but he wasn't Jackson Dart. They really loaded it up. I didn't catch the game, but I saw the stats coming in. They had turnover issues. Here we go again. A lot of fumbles, no interceptions, obviously. So, both teams weren't holding the ball too well. So they both, there was like 3 total ones. But hey, SC 4-4, 1-4 in the conference. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Going to be seeing Texas take that title.
So, do you think that Oklahoma made a mistake by going to the SEC?
No, they didn't go for the mistake. I think they're a great team. They're historically a great team.
Calm down about the great team, bro. Come on.
What?
Calm down. Oklahoma?
Yeah, bro. They've got some championship titles in their case.
I don't give a shit about them. I'm talking about now.
Everybody knew. Even the Sooners knew going into the season they were questionable. Dylan Gabriel transferred to Oregon. He's a Heisman contender. They went with Jackson Arnold and their younger kid, Jenkins. What's the young kid that they had? Another Michael somebody. Anybody. He's been switching back and forth. They don't even know who's leading the team yet. They're starting quarterback, then bench. They bring in the next guy. He plays, then he goes due south. So, hey, that's a defense.
Don't they play that little violin for Oklahoma?
Yeah, play it for Kipper, not for me, because I'm right where that is.
So listen, enough of that. The one thing you got to remember is you got to line them up. You knew what you were getting into when you signed up for the SEC. Listen, when you have injuries, every team's going through that right now. We'll get into some big injuries as we move on. That's part of the game, and you got to adjust. And it's your depth. That's why big programs have great players. You got 4-star players that are doing punt return and kickoff return. That's what makes a team amazing. So, with that said, hey, next man up. That's what we do. Look, I agree with you. Look, unfortunately, Oklahoma's had to deal with a lot of injuries, and you can't, if you don't have your star players out there, it's going to be a tough road. And I feel bad for them in a way, but at the end of the day, Kippy, sorry, brother. We'll see you next year. It's a wrap on this year.
Yeah. You know what? They may not even make a bowl. Just saying.
Well, they are going to make a bowl. It's called a toilet bowl. And so that's
home.
Yeah.
Home.
Yeah. They're going to play like Oregon State in the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
So let's move on to
yes, please.
Washington traveled to Indiana, and the quarterback from Indiana was injured, of course, and Taven Jackson, right?
Yep, Taven Jackson.
And I was back and forth watching the games, and I'm telling you, this kid came in. It was accurate. He was moving the ball.
Yep.
Washington went in. I thought this is your win, by the way.
Yep.
Because I went with Washington. I thought Washington was going to come in and whatever. But let me tell you something. Indiana, and we spoke about if a quarterback gets injured, what's the next step for a lot of teams? And it's a very big drop-off.
Yeah.
Indiana brought in this kid, and he was accurate. He's moving the ball.
Yeah.
They won 31-17, and Indiana's for real.
Yeah. You know what won that game? They're rushing. They ran 188 yards against Washington. And Washington, they've been known to always have a great defense, but 2 interceptions by Will Rogers. They're Washington quarterback. So, for the starter quarterback who's been a transfer, he's been moved around from Mississippi State and then went in the portal, came up there. So, I give hats off to Taven Jackson stepping in for Indiana. He was prepared. He stepped up, manned up, and he delivered the ball. He threw it around to, a lot of different receivers.
Yeah, they've got some great receivers there.
9
I think that
receivers. So, he really tossed that ball around. But the running game really was, they got, Justice Ellison. He ran for 123 yards. Nothing long, nothing that was like game breaker big.
Yeah.
It was just short and consistent.
It's called moving the stick. moving the change, baby. If you can do that, it's ball control. You're setting up, in essence, if you run the ball well and you move the change, setting up the pass.
Yep.
So my hat's off to Indiana. They played an amazing game. They are undefeated, 8-0.
Still undefeated.
Wow.
God, it's going to be.
I think 1967 or something like that when the last time.
What? Coach Corso, they honored the man as they should.
Yeah.
I mean, that was on game day. Man, what a great honor and tribute to that man. I mean, he's just been such a testament to college football over the years, not only as a coach, but, in media commentary. So good for them.
Yeah, but Lee Corso, if we go back to him, not only was he a great coach, but he's been a staple for college football game day with having his picks. I mean, there's nothing better than having him doing the picks. It's just iconic. It's what we all grew.
And I just thought of that moment of like what I should be, you have the bell. I didn't want to become the next Lee Corso. I was like, I don't want to cover the mug, but I may have to start like putting the helmet on.
What was the first? Do you remember the first one that he put on?
God, it's probably Notre Dame.
It was Ohio State.
You know that?
Yes, baby.
I need facts, please, for all those.
I'll give you the facts. That is a fact.
That is the quote of the day. We're gonna the question of the day, I should say, for anybody watching at college football on YouTube. So be sure and subscribe. Look at us. We are here for you. Please find out the truth. Send in your questions and the facts. If Coach Lee Corso, first helmet to put on was Brutus. I need footage. I need to see that.
I'll send it to you right now, bro. It was the first one he ever put on as a college football game day, putting on the headgear. It was the Buckeye Brutus, baby.
Yeah.
Good. Speaking of, let's segue into a Squeaker. Let me introduce this one, Greg, because I got a lot to say.
Please. We're talking about Brutus.
I'm going to go off on one here, and I want you to this is the thing that, look, I'm all fired up. Ryan Day, when Ohio State went out to the NIL and spent the money, I think it was like $20 million out there. What happens is you're in a lose-lose situation, and I'll tell you why. If you do not win, you're going to be looked at as a failure, right? And if you do win, they're going to say, well, you should have with all the money that you spent. The one thing that we can honestly say is this. You got to remember what you're trying to build in the program. 2 running backs, Travion Henderson and Keyshawn Jenkins. I mean, look, amazing, right? The running backs in this day and age is not even, if you look at the NFL, the running back is there, but they're not really that. If you look at the NFL draft, running backs like going first round, really, I don't even know if that happens anymore because running backs are kind of a secondary thing. But the one thing you need to work on is 2 things. You need to work on the lines, the defensive line. Ohio State, we got a great defensive line. Offensive line.
Yeah.
We had some picks that didn't go our way.
Yeah.
So now we're scrambling. We are scrambling right now to try to figure out the offensive line. Our left tackle out for the year. Then the replacement that came in, unfortunately, played really, really bad. I mean, it was like this guy, number 10 for Nebraska, I can't remember his name, but bro, he was manhandling this guy. And for a quarterback to go back, listen, if you got the receivers, like Ohio State has some of the best receivers in the country, right? But if you don't have time to throw the ball and you're being pressured, there's no way there's no time for them to go out.
Yeah.
So look, Ohio State squeaked one. There was, and this is what I'm getting to as well as about the refs. The refs right now in college football are suspect. There was a call last week, I think, against Texas where they called, then they reversed it.
And they fined. Yes.
Because they knew they were going to get shot up by the Texas people when they left. But the one thing you got to remember is when you make a call, you have time when it goes into the replay to make the change. Clearly, that was not targeting on the Ohio State Reese, number 20. What they did is they reversed the call the next day. Instead of him being out against Penn State, they said, no, it wasn't targeting back in. So in the game, an important game, you have, I don't know how many people looking at this from 25 different angles, and you come up and say it's targeting, and then you reverse the call the next day. We got issues with the refs, and it's going to cost a great team a moment. I can see it happening either the rest of the year or in the playoffs.
So
it's going to cost the team
I don't know.
a win or a loss by the fucking refs.
So what happened there? Ohio State got penalized for targeting and then was ejected from the game?
So here's what happened. So the guy comes in, the receiver catches the ball, then he fumbles. We recover the fumble.
Okay.
All of a sudden, penalty comes out, says, oh, we have a targeting call. They review it. So this is when Nebraska was down 21-17, and they had the ball. So they gained, 15 yards on the pass. We recovered the fumble. But so what they did is they gave him the yardage to that point.
Right.
And they gave him the 15 yards for the targeting.
On top of that.
The worst call that you could ever imagine. Even the Texas call the week before. I mean, come on. Something's got to be done here where you can't have bad calls every single week when they have time to look at it in the booth. Who's in there? Stevie Wonder looking at the freaking call? Like, oh, okay, well, it's that. So anyway, I'm going off on that because, and then we'll get back to the game. Nebraska played really well in defense. We played like shit. Offensive line sucked, right?
Man,
Can't run the ball.
Yeah, could run 64 yards is not going to win you a game.
Ryan Day said this, and this is, I truly believe what's going to happen is this. We go in, we're going to talk about the game in a minute, but Ohio State squeaked one barely, and we're not looking good, bro. I'm telling you, we're going to go into Penn State, you're going to drop an egg, or some miraculous thing's going to happen where the offensive line is going to start blocking and we may get some yardage. If we don't gain 120 yards rushing, we're probably not going to win. So anyway, that's my prediction on that. We'll get into the predictions next week. But for my game, that was a squeaker. We got by, but we're limping into next week.
And just to state that Ohio State is not just having offensive line injury issues because they're not running the ball because Nebraska's defense, I mean, they're suspect too. Because on the opposite side of the ball, because Nebraska ran for 120 yards, which you need. They gave up 120 yards and a touchdown on that rushing. And then they threw.
Well, let me give you that scenario real quick.
They tried to make them, they were trying to have balance, but they ran the ball very well against a good defense.
Hold on a second. So here's what happened. The quarterback never usually runs, right? He ran, I think, himself for 50 yards.
Will Howard did?
Yeah, he threw for 152.
Some sacks because he's got 14 total yards. But, I mean, as a whole, I don't care if Will Howard. Oh, you're talking about Will Howard, right?
No, I'm talking about the quarterback, Raiola. He ran for 31 yards, but he got a couple sacks. So I think he was up to 50 yards himself.
Yeah.
Off of a couple of.
You were sweating bullets. I know you were. Come on, let's be honest. Tell your fans.
No, I was.
Dude, were you know?
Oh, my God, bro. And let me tell you something. I'm sitting there. I'm watching the game.
At home.
And I'm sitting there because I have a group text with my family, all my cousins and my aunt, everybody.
Yeah.
We all text each other. Okay. And I have some, and so we're all sitting there and we're all giving how our feeling about the game.
Yeah.
And it was all like, oh my God, the offensive line, this, that, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Ohio State fans Kirk Herbstreit mentioned Ohio State fans when Will Howard won the game, he 3 touchdown passes, whatever. And it's just barreling down on him, right? We're the most non-satisfied fans probably. If we win a championship and we win by 2 points, they probably would have said, oh, we should have won by 14. That's who we are. Our fan base is great. But we're like, bro, we're all or nothing. I mean, and if we don't smack a team down by 21 points, we're like, what, the NIL money we spent, we should have won by 30. You see?
God, I mean, this was a good defensive. I mean, it was a battle. I mean, Nebraska, hats off to you guys. I mean, for winning, but I mean, Nebraska put up a game. They were in there to win.
Well, Nebraska got smacked last week by Indiana. I mean, just smacked.
Yeah.
And then that's what everybody thought was going to go into this. But you know what? When you have a good coach and you've got a program that's up on the bill, if they're built, right, they're going to go, hey, who are we? We got to stand up here.
Yeah.
We just can't.
Well, they know what they got, and their quarterback. They got the future. So there, it's good. Well,
who you got?
Let's go into the Oregon, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What happened to those Fighting Illinois? I mean, they look great. Were they too much on the news? Too much conversation about how cool they looked the week before? Because they went in and just didn't no-showed. Where the heck did y'all go? I have no idea. But they torched you on all sides of the ball. I mean, 300 yards passing, over 200 yards rushing against their defense. I mean, they just got deflated in a minute.
I was going back and forth to that game, and I got to tell you, man, Dylan Gabriel, he's definitely a Heisman contender, right?
Yeah.
Illinois, listen, this is what happens when you play teams, and like Michigan, I don't think Michigan's good at all. And so what happens is you're going to go in and you're going to play some subpar teams, and then you're going to go up against an elite team like Oregon, ranked number 1.
Yeah.
That's when all of those little flaws or kinks are going to come out, and they're going to just steamroll you. Oregon, I mean, it looked like a very good team against an average team is what it looked like to me.
Yeah. I mean, goodness great. 300 yards.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's just in receiving.
Yeah.
And we ran 200 yards. They ran. I mean, collectively, a lot of guys. There's 3 main running backs. Wow.
Turnover.
9 rushing attempts. 39.
Illinois had 2 interceptions. Again, let's talk about turnovers. You can't do it, especially this is one of the things I think is going to move forward in some of these close games, SEC close games, ACC, Big Ten, where the wind may be blowing or the tip, off the fingertips, turnover, crucial turnovers. You just can't have them. And Illinois had two interceptions. And
we split. We both took Ohio State. And we both took Oregon.
Yeah.
What about that Bama? Lead that one up.
Okay, let's move to BYU real quick. Let's just spend a second on this. BYU won 37-24. UCF, they finally were showing what I thought they were. They're not there yet. I mean, so listen, BYU ranked top 10. Let's see what happens. But, 37-24, they played well. We both went for BYU, of course. So, Greg, introduce the Alabama shellacking.
Wow. Now, this is the Bama because they were coming off that loss. And we said, you don't go in to Tuscaloosa and not expect just a massive destruction of anger.
Yeah.
And Missouri, they just put the ugly stick on those Tigers. I mean, they just went, they slapped.
Well, the quarterback for Missouri was out, so.
Yeah, but
no excuses. How about Missouri?
About that, I mean, and what Indiana did, you're talking about next man up.
Yeah.
You got to step up.
Well, let me give you these stats real quick.
Your number is called. Let's go. I mean,
listen to this.
Almost 300 yards rushing.
Drew, look at the stats for the Missouri quarterback. 6 of 12 for 42 yards, 3 interceptions.
Wow. So there's their problem. They got to fix. They got to draft. They got to start recruiting some quarterback because they're backup right now. He's not going to take them to the promised land. I mean, Jalen, he had a subpar 500, 50-50 kind of game. I mean, he didn't throw too much. I mean, because the running game, it was cruising. So they're like, hey, save your arm this week.
34-0, a donut. I mean,
boom. They 4 rushing touchdowns.
So that's why when we do the games, whatever, we'll realize what's coming up for Alabama. And whoever has 2 losses in the SEC, all the games moving forward, those are must wins, which is going to heighten. Yeah. All right, so Greg, I'm gonna introduce. I want to let you rule on this one. We had Texas going into Vanderbilt. I chose Vanderbilt for the upset, and you know what? James Hyde almost came away with a victory, but I didn't. It was a squeaker. So, Greg, let me hear your now. Vanderbilt is not a soft team like hey, we're going to go into Vanderbilt. I'll put in my third string quarterback. No, they're a ball. They're on the rise. So, 27-24. Give me your thoughts.
Man, this is everything that it's been was set up to be. I mean, it was a grinder. It took a minute to get it going. I mean, even in the first quarter, I mean, it was just trying to get momentum, but the Texas came out strong. I loved it. Quinn looked good. He had some good moments. And then, unfortunately, he threw a couple of balls that got tipped and were intercepted that were kind of freebies. But the biggest thing was he didn't run too much. He didn't have a lot of yards rushing, because we kind of kept him consistent. He took some heat in the backfield. I mean, Vanderbilt was coming on the corners. I mean, they were coming off those edges. So give it up to Vanderbilt, man. I was a little worried going in there because, I mean, after they beat Bama and they walked that goalpost all the way down the river, I was like, please do not let this happen. So, I mean, it was still 21-10 at half. So it looked like it was still close enough to be reachable because Vanderbilt stepped it up in the second half, and they shut Texas off.
Are you at all concerned that this had 3 points in the third quarter, 3 points in the fourth quarter? Is there any concern there as far as point production and what so you got to imagine that Vanderbilt scored 10 points. They scored 14 points in the second half. It went down to, it was down to, 27-24, but they only scored 6 points in the second half, Texas.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Am I concerned? No. I think they're going to fix it. I mean, give credit where credit is due. Vanderbilt's got a strong defense. I mean, this is what you hope for in a good head-to-head matchup. I mean, you got two teams. Vanderbilt, they've welcomed two top 15 programs into their home field, and they're 1-1, and they make them close. It's not a blowout by any means. I mean, Vanderbilt's for real. Pavia is a solid quarterback. He made pressure throws because the defense for Texas is still there, and it's kind of like the offense struggled in a good environment, and their offensive line, Williams, number 52, I remember him. He was giving up a lot of pressures to that defensive end. From Vanderbilt, because they came in with a vengeance, like they were coming in to make a statement. I just think what you said about Ohio State that's so important is the running game, and that Texas, they only got 100 yards. Our bell cow, Wisner and Blue, they a 1-2 punch because injuries occurred. We have I think 3 running backs injured. Our major running back Baxter is injured from the beginning of the year on IR. You don't need Quinn running around because you don't need him to take a hit because he's going to have concussion because he's had that. He's a Tua Tailo, situation you got to worry about because he's looking for the next. He wants to play on Sunday. The defense was challenged because they have a good offense. Turnovers were minimal, but it still happened. I mean, they made Quinn throw the ball. I mean, he still threw up almost 300 yards, 3 tutties. And he had some good moments because he has great receivers, and they pulled through with Golden and stuff like that. So I'm not worried. I think they just need to get that offensive line refigured like you in the same sense for the Buckeyes. You had some pressure, and we're not injured. We got depth. So they got to step up their game for sure.
I don't think that you're anywhere in the realm of Ohio State's
injury prone.
I'm going to try to use a word here. I'm not going to say pathetic. I'm going to say it's almost like you went through, and this I'm going to say real quick, you go through the whole summer program and you're supposed to have 2 or 3 depth left tackle, which is probably one of the most positions, especially if you're right-handed quarterback, is that because it's blindside. You got to have your strongest guy, right?
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that within this season you got 1, 2, 3 options. 1, 2, 3 at left guard. That's an elite program. So anyway,
we're big.
I'm going to leave with that. And I think that Texas doesn't have anywhere near the issues that we have. But anyway, let's move on. Let's do this game real quick. I mean, Miami put a shellacking on Florida State. Florida State, pathetic. They're out. Miami, Cam Ward played well. Let's move on to the game that broke the tie for you and I. It was LSU traveling to Texas A&M. You and I were 2-2. This game was a night game, and let me tell you something. It was absolutely amazing game. You know, here's the one thing that I'm going to tell you is this: Connor Wigman, right? And then you got Marcel Reed. So you had Marcel Reed ran for 62 yards and turned the game around. They brought him in because Connor Wigman threw 6 for 18, 64 yards. Then Marcel Reed comes in 2 for 270, but that's not it. He ran for 62 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns.
Look, I know. I mean, this is look, first half LSU dominated. And then they pulled that halftime. I wish I could have been in that locker room. I mean, you know that those boys got fired up. They made the change. Coach made a call. You're sitting on the bench. That happened against Notre Dame at the beginning of the year, you know, because he was having problems. I know it was close. He was coming off injury. And then they made a very difficult decision. The starting quarterback, the one that's supposed to be driving your program, got benched. And this Marcel Reed, young kid, comes in and runs all over.
Electric is what I would say.
I just saw LSU a week ago. All right. I was impressed by their domination over Arkansas because they are very, very similar to A&M in their style of offense with they got very specialty skill set receivers. Running game is strong. And they just stepped up like it's a new game. They were down 17-7 at half, and they barely got to 7 on the board. But look at what Newsemeyer, 400 yards passing. They made him one-dimensional in the second half, and then they just
25 to 50. No quarterback should be throwing the ball 50 times.
You got 50, 64. I mean, what? Whoa. You got no run game? You have to have running. Running wins. It's like defense wins championship. Well, running game keeps you in the game. If you've got to keep them balanced. That's crazy.
And the running game, eventually, if you have any type of running game, will make the victory for you. It's about field position, making the clock, draining the clock, moving the chains. You got to have a running game, a balance, or you're not going to win because defenses will just go, you know what? I get it now. I'm going to fucking blitz.
Yeah.
Blitz the house and make you throw quickly. And
wow.
Especially if you get in 3rd and long.
I mean, now LSU first conference loss, 3-1 in the conference. A&M is undefeated. 5-0. Bro, you do not want to go into Kyle Field and play Texas A&M right now because they are the hottest team right now, I think, in the SEC.
As Kippy would say, they're hotter than fish grease.
That's the only way to bring Kip back into this conversation.
So let's move on. You got Penn State traveled.
You took the win on that one. I took LSU. I was going with the Tigers.
Yeah, I got the win. That's what broke the tie. We were 2-2. That was what broke the tie. I won that week again. Thank you very much. Hold on. Let's just give Greggy, that's called the victory bell, my friend. That's called the victory bell.
Yeah. I mean, because we split the Penn State-Wisconsin game. Hey, my question, are you worried about the Lions, those Penn State Lions? Valley?
What's that?
You worried? You're worried. After your debacle?
Let's go through these games, and then we'll jump to next week, and I'll give you my opinion. And yes, I am, by the way. Penn State traveled to Wisconsin. Wisconsin put up a little bit of a fight. They, Camp Randall, we always talked about.
Yeah.
But Penn State, we'll get into this, but Drew Aller is injured.
Oh.
Yeah.
How bad?
So his knee, he went out. They put a knee brace on, and he was looking. He got upset because he got emotional. Couldn't play. Prabula is a guy that came in and just was a stud.
Yeah.
was a freaking stud. I mean, he came in and just said, okay, I got it, and whatever.
Yeah.
He's a big dude, and he can run the ball. So with that said,
he's questionable. He's not out. He's just questionable right now, huh?
Yeah, but look.
I mean, he had good stats. I mean, the kid, he's
Who, Bo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he run? He play well?
He played well. He ran the show, went and he came into a hostile environment and just took the team and what they did, and this is what Penn State's throwing out, and that's what Ohio State's going to have to worry about. They're throwing a little trickeration moving forward. So I think the playbook now in week 9, the playbook at the very beginning of the season, something like this, the playbook now is like, we're throwing everything out.
Yeah.
We're going to, throw it to the running back, have him throw one. I think all the playbooks are wide open right now. So with that said, Penn State went in, they played well. Injury, we don't know about the quarterback moving forward, but they played 28 points they put up. Trickeration was happening. And, so now we're looking forward to a big game. And then the other one that we got was a squeaker. Was Kansas State was getting beat, and they beat Kansas 29-27.
Yeah.
And it was a last minute kind of thing. I think they Avery Johnson threw for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Kansas played really well. Kansas State came out on top. That's what you do as a program. You win. And then, Greg, take that SMU game, which was a squeaker.
Dude, that was a squeaker, but you got a good squad. I mean, it's like they played still to the level that is expected of them to play. They traveled to North Carolina in Raleigh, playing Duke. Malik Jeffries, former Texas Longhorn transfer, went to the portal, and I mean, I didn't get to catch the game, but let me tell you, it was very close as a point difference. I mean, on both sides of the ball, very competitive.
OT, baby.
Kevin Jenkins, still the starting guy over Preston Stone. True freshman.
3 INTs.
Yeah, he made some interceptions, but they never pulled him, which is surprising. They kept him in the game. And what did that do? It set the tone. The coach believed in this kid. Be a leader, even if you're struggling.
Okay, I don't know if you know this or not, but it went to overtime.
They go to OT.
28-21. Do you know that Duke scored a touchdown and they went for 2 for the win and they didn't get it? That's what happened. A failed 2-point pass to win it, and they lost.
It's we win or go home. That's a game.
So
right?
let's finalize this week. We got to jump into next week's picks.
300 yards with 3 tutties, so he was balling out because he's a big kid.
So these last 2 games, let's get these out, and then we got to get to next week's picks. Cincinnati rolled into Colorado. They won 34-23. You had a mention for Hunter. Played a great game, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's like 98% of the ball on getting snaps. I mean, on offense, defense. I mean, he is, between him and Genty for Boise State, I mean, top 2 contenders for the Heisman Trophy. There's been some banter with him. Colorado's balling. I mean, good on them. I mean, they're not in the top. Do you think they're going to be in the top 25 now?
They are. They're ranked 20.
They're ranked 23 now? All right. Yep, you were correct. I mean, they beat Cincy, so, I mean, they're moving in, making some noise.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, look, they're on the outside looking in. Let's see. The one team that we haven't mentioned at all is Washington State, ranked 22. They beat San Diego State 29-26. I haven't seen them play, but look, they're ranked 22nd. They must be doing something right. So with that said, man, what a great week. James Hyde came out again on the top end of that, 3-2. So with that said, let's get into week 10. These are our picks. Let's go. So let's just go from the top, Greg. I'll take the first one. You take the second one. So we got San Diego State traveling to Boise 5 o'clock game. Who you got?
No offense, but this is not even a conversation. Oh my God, are you kidding me? This is going to be a matchup, but San Diego State is not on Boise State. They're traveling to Smurf turf. Okay, it's Boise State all day. Come on.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Listen, this game might be a little something for us to talk about. We got Duke, and they're traveling to Miami. 9 o'clock game. Miami's not traditionally 9 o'clock guys because they're out all night. They're partying, and they get back to the game. They might just make it to the game at 9. So Duke's traveling to Miami. Who you got?
Man, who do I got? I love how you throw that over my way. Okay, Miami is at home. They are coming Duke after a very competitive week against SMU. They only lost on a failed 2-point conversion. They wanted the victory. They wanted the win. I think they're competing. They believe in themselves, and I think they needed that just to get that little extra push of mental stability because you can win because you got heart. I think this is upset alert. I'm gonna go with Duke. And see, I'm gonna be a risk taker. Cam Ward, Heisman candidate, incredible. I don't even know what Duke can do, but I like Malik, and I just think he's an incredible athlete, staggering huge. But I think they can go down and make some noise. I mean, it's another flip the coin toss, field goal moment.
You know what? I like where you're going with this. I like where you're going, and I believe, like I said, Miami, if you're traditionally they're not 9 o'clock guys, but it's actually a noon game. It's 9 o'clock here. So with that said, I am going to stick with Cam Ward. I think he's too good. The reason why I say that is because Duke, I don't think, puts up enough points to challenge Miami because Miami will outscore them. So I'm going to choose Miami. I'm going to go with Cam Ward, Miami. But I loved your pick. Let's go to one of the games that is going to be huge in the college football playoff system. We got Ohio State traveling to Penn State. Okay, now I'm going to throw it to you first because you know who I got.
Man, it's hard to win in Happy Valley. And, I mean, your offensive line is just unbelievable in detriment. It's like Penn State, their defense is going to have to carry this team to win against Judkins. I mean, you got a great quarterback still. Will Howard is a dual threat. You're going to have to make them one-dimensional, but they have a receiving core is very dominant. But you don't need how do you play? But with Penn State's quarterback down, can they level up? That kid that backed up, Bo, he stepped in and he led that team to victory. I think he can do it. I believe because of Ohio State's injury and knowing your alma mater here, I'm going to go with Penn State and those Lions in Happy Valley with the upset over Ohio State, deflating them, bringing Brutus down a notch because you got to fix that problem in that offensive line. You're traveling into an all whiteout. I know it if it's at a night game.
No,
it's a night game. It's 11 a.m. Are you kidding me? This is early. I mean, you are going to have to come out of the game. I mean, you're going to wake up with a brewski and a coffee at the same time to watch this matchup. This is unbelievable, bro. You're going to tell
I love everything you just said. Smack you right in the face. Let me give you my thing of why that's not going to happen. Penn State is a good football team, right? Now, here's the thing. If the quarterback's not able to play, it's going to change. They're going to be more run-oriented. They're not going to pass that much. So with that said, it's up to us to kind of make that defense. The strong point for us is defensive line for Ohio State. Yeah. They've been playing well, right?
Yeah.
The linebackers have been a little suspect, especially because, sometimes we're going to go. So with that said, when you have Chip Kelly as your offensive coordinator, he's going to come up with some stuff that's going to be the left tackle is where the injuries are. What they're going to do is they're going to bring in a tight end and they're going to double up or bring a cross block with that. Okay, so they're going to protect that guy, whoever that is, right? The difference is Will Howard has not ran that much, and he was a great runner at Kansas State. Now, with that said, I think the playbook now is starting to open up. And I believe there's going to be more run design plays for him. The reason why he doesn't run that much, I truly believe, is because, we have Devin Brown, who's our backup, is not, he's more of an athletic guy, can run, but he's not slinging the ball to these guys, whatever. So I think that's why they don't have a lot of play runs for him.
I'm seeing a lot of times they're going to try to knock Will out.
Yeah. And so with that said, I think it's going to be close.
Okay.
I really believe it's going to be field position, maybe some field goals. It's going to be tough. Look, Ohio State, Penn State games traditionally over the last few years have been amazing, like down to the wire. And it's always like that. We found a way to win, a lot of these games. Bosa smacking the running back right into the quarterback on fourth down. We won the game. So those are the kind of games that I think what's going to happen. We had an injury on the offensive line. I think they're doing a reassessment. We're trying to build the guard. The left guard is going to move out to left tackle. We're going to bring in a guard, which is not the guard is still look. Any position on the offensive line is important. But we got a guy that's going to move out from the guard position, move out to left tackle. We're going to run a double tight end set. So look, they're going to try to find a way. But listen,
pick, let's go. I got.
The Ohio State coming up with the victory. We're going to win by a field goal or more, and that's what we're up. I think the spread is 3.5. Ohio State. Let's go. That's going to be a good one. Look, we got Air Force and Army. Air Force traveling to Army. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Army. They're going to rebound after this that loss. I'm going with Army.
Yeah, Army's going to win that one. Let's move quickly. Okay, we got one right here. I think Ole Miss is going to travel to Arkansas.
Man, home field. Ole Miss. This is going to be a game.
Okay, you got Ole Miss?
I'm taking Ole Miss because I like Ole Miss.
Okay, I got Arkansas with the victory on that one. The one game that we didn't discuss real quick, and we threw that in there last week, was Minnesota and Maryland. You tried to get me in on the trickery on that one. Minnesota just put an ass licking on them. So we got Minnesota traveling to Illinois. Who you got?
I'm looking against on some history here, and Minnesota traveling Illinois. Illinois is coming off that really, really embarrassing look. And I'm almost, because I thought they'd been so flashy in the headline news, it's almost too much. It got to their head and they got smacked down and brought down to reality. Man, this is going to be, I think, a much better game. I think they got to get back in there. I'm going to go with Illinois. I'm scared of Minnesota. I think they have their number, but I'm going to go with Illinois because I'm going to ride the headlines.
All right, I'm picking Minnesota. Minnesota came off a great victory. They look better as a team.
Yeah.
Illinois, of course, they're playing at home. I don't know if they're going to come out with those old school helmets. I don't know what they got left in the tank that they could have, because they come out with a helmet that was the original helmets of whatever. What do they got now? I mean,
listen, you know what the thing is? I think this is going to, if they can't win against Minnesota, they're a joke. They're not a real legitimate team. I think they had
Minnesota looked good. Minnesota looked good.
They've always played good against big teams, even like they did against Michigan and stuff. But I just think Illinois, it's like, were you a pretender or contender? Contender here. And that was my thing. I just think, Illinois, you better show up, because otherwise you just be a joke. Nothing else.
Yeah. Well, this is like, I think this game is more about how their season, games that, they started off really strong. They're building the program there.
Yeah.
Great coach. This is kind of be the true test of their season. That's why I think Minnesota, I love Minnesota's coach. We're going to Minnesota. Here's one. Oregon's traveling to Michigan, 12:30 game. Oregon traveling to the big house. Who you got?
Not even a conversation. I'm taking Oregon.
So you got Michigan then.
I ain't taking Michigan. I don't believe in them at all. I mean, not even just because Texas won, but I've already moved ahead. I'm like past that one. I don't want to spend too much time on teams that it's like, I just think Oregon's too much. There's too much
Yeah.
talent. They're number one for a reason. They're
Yeah.
receiving, they're running, their offensive core. Dylan Gabriel can run all over the field. Michigan is one-dimensional.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're both choosing Oregon on that. I think it's going to get ugly.
I've only seen you get blue once, and
I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
Let's go. Texas Tech traveling to Iowa State, 12:30 game. Who you got?
Man, all right, I'm on the fence on this one. Really am, because I know you're taking Iowa State here.
Oh, you better believe it, buddy.
Iowa State, and this is the game changer for me. Iowa State at home.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because Texas Tech, I haven't been watching too much of the Raiders. They got a winning record, but they just lost to TCU at TCU, which was 70 points scoreboard. Offensively, they were playing well. They've done some good, but they've lost 2 games in a row. They can win. They traveled to Arizona and won at Arizona. I haven't even seen Arizona on the radar, and I was so hyped on them earlier this year. I'm kind of scared. Texas Tech, it seemed like they're finding their rhythm. But Iowa State at home and that coach. I'm going to go with Iowa State.
Okay. All right. So look, I think that's a good pick. I really believe that Iowa State right now is clicking on all cylinders. What about this one? Florida is traveling to Georgia. Okay. That's the, what do they call that?
This is like the swamp battle. This is the battle of the 2 states where they meet in Jacksonville, Florida. And this is huge. There's a huge paddle like this oar that they make in all the history. It's like in vault boxes. It's so cool. Man, the dogs coming.
Yeah. I think that Georgia has got, listen, they played some big games already. Florida is, the coach is, he's look, I just don't think that Florida's got the firepower to even give it a,
let's give Florida credit. They have been playing better football. They have won games. They are not getting smacked around like they were at the beginning of the year, but they beat Kentucky pretty handily.
Yeah, and Kentucky was playing some good football.
And that was in Florida. And it's hard to go to the swamp. Yeah. Give credit where, there's good teams that come down in there and put an ass whooping on them. But Georgia, different animal.
Okay, I got a good one for you here. And this is something to think about. You got Kansas State traveling to Houston. 12:30 game. Who you got?
Kansas, where are you? Kansas State to Houston. Kansas State, Avery Johnson. There's not even, Houston's solid. They've been playing well, but they're like this peak and valley. They're high and low. They go through moments. They show up, then they don't show up. Then they play. You expect them to have this amazing offensive, light it up. No fireworks. I'm all Kansas State. Avery Johnson's going to throw this ball, run that ball. There's too much talent there, and they're going to just walk over it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So we got Indiana traveling to Michigan State. 12:30 game.
Good game. Great game. But Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that
they're not on a list. They don't have the same talent. Indiana, their quarterback, but their backup quarterback. He stepped like he just been running the team from the beginning of the season. Indiana Hoosiers, they're for real. They're going to be in the bubble. They're going to play in the 12 for sure. They're going to come. It's going to come down to them and somebody, hopefully your Buckeyes for the Big Ten championship.
All right. So this is a good one. Got Louisville traveling to Clemson, night games. I think it's at 6:30 or 7:30. Who do you got?
Where are they playing? They're playing in Clemson.
Yep.
Man, you've been riding Clemson's tail from the beginning of the season. I know that. Louisville's got a high and low gear. I've seen them play. Their offense, they can throw the ball. They're testy. They beat Boston College in a very, very close matchup last week at BC, which is not an easy thing to go. You go into Brian's house there. Man, I like Clemson because I'm a fan of Clemson, and I'm going to go with the Tigers.
Yeah, I think that as we said before, we're talking about teams that start off a certain way, but then they start hitting their mojo and they start hitting their stride.
Yeah.
I think that Clemson is right now is a team that's up there, could play with anybody. Again, I picked them to win the ACC. I'm sticking with it. I'm going Clemson. So here's a good one. Texas A&M is traveling to South Carolina.
Tell me what you got.
It's going to be an evening game as well.
Tell me your deal.
Let me see. A&M's traveling to South Carolina. South Carolina was a team that I thought at the beginning of the year could really, again, we're traveling there. A&M, I think right now, you know what? This is a throw up for me. Not a throw up, like a toss up for me, because A&M, if you have a defense that could, if they're going to start the quarterback that did really well, because then it's one dimensional. He can run, but the pass. I believe this is going to be a close one. I'm going to go A&M, but it's going to be close.
Bro, you couldn't have said it better. It will be close. The Gamecocks are for real. That quarterback is a mountain, and their defense, they bring the heat. I've seen them play. I know what kind of men they are. They ball out. But A&M in the hot streak, this is going to be an incredible matchup. And South Carolina is going to come in with a chip on their shoulder with A&M coming all cocky, feeling mighty.
Yeah.
Man, it is going to be neck and neck game.
Who you got?
And
yeah. All right. So we got Kentucky traveling to Tennessee. Another night game. Kentucky traveling, going into Tennessee. Who do you got?
Man, not even a question. There's only one orange team I'll root for with some UT logo, and that is Tennessee.
So I'm going to say that Kentucky early on in the season.
UK can basketball.
I would have picked Kentucky, but I think Tennessee now they've been tested. I believe that they are moving, and they're a good football team. And I got Tennessee. Okay, last one. I got Pittsburgh traveling to SMU. Who do you got?
They're coming to my backyard. So SMU, Pitt, good one. This is what this conference is about. The ACC battle of the two powerhouses. I told you from the beginning of the year, SMU is solid. I love their play, their style of play. Pittsburgh stepped up and being better than I thought they could be. And Pittsburgh, like last week and who they played, I went against them and I went with my gut and I thought the Q was going to come down there and win, and they didn't. So, James, I lost my partner in crime. Where's my Robin? He's timed out. He ain't here. So it's all me. So here we go. I'm going to take over the show. It's the Greg Vaughn College Football Trash Talk right here. Okay? So SMU and Pitt coming into my house. Pittsburgh, you did great last week. Congratulations. You're going down this week. SMU is too different. Their style, their offensive weapon, they are dominant. They are going to show you what Texas is about. Bring that mighty Pittsburgh Steel Town Nation down here, and we're going to put some whoop ass. That's what I think. It is going to not be it's going to be explosive fireworks. Two dominant offenses, strong defensive. We're going to look good in our probably crispy white uniforms. Maybe they'll throw back some Pony Express. But I'm going SMU, and I know James, because he's so predictable, he's going to take the Panthers. Let's put him in for Pitt Panthers. Me, SMU, Pony Express, bringing it to you. That's what we're going to do. So, hey, for all you out there watching, we thank you for your time because I lost my partner in crime. Robin's taking a break. I probably had to go to the bathroom. Phone ran out of juice. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to College Football Chalk and Trash on YouTube and IG, CFB _TT. And God, we're everybody. Make sure you look up all our handles. Thank you for watching. Make sure you put your questions in the box. Please comment. We're just doing this for fun, making sure we're connecting with you. We're going to get some new guests coming on as the season progresses and keep talking our smack or thinking about who we got to start disagreeing a little bit. I think that's the thing, because we do have a lot good games coming up, but we appreciate, and no bell. How about that? That's the way we're going to end this show this week. Silence. So I wish you well. Be blessed. Thank you for joining us. Love you. College Football Trash Talk coming to you.